Good evening, everyone. Lee here from Parrot Life, Behaviour and Toni. So I am the Brisbane consultant, and I'm here tonight with Toni from Brisbane Bird Minding. Hi, Toni.
Hey, that's me.
So, Toni, you know, you've not been on before, so might get you to just do a bit of an intro. What's Brisbane Bird Minding? Tell us a little bit about your business.
Brisbane Bird Minding. We are a home away from home for your gorgeous little babies, feather babies. We're at Rochedale. We've been going for several years now. And yeah, predominantly we have a shop, we do training, we have a Parrots online, which you can subscribe to, but the predominant part of our business is minding parrots. So we can have anywhere from one parrot to 180 here was at Christmas time. So yeah, they're pretty big.
Yes, and I met Toni a couple of years ago, and was really impressed because she chose to come along and attend all of our Parrot Training Academy workshops, and kind of threw herself into that. And from there, we hit it off, and we started doing seminars together. And so Toni and I have gotten to know each other really well, and we've collaborated together in the past. And so we kind of got together recently, and we were trying to think up more options, more services that we could provide for clients that are going to help tackle some of those common behaviour issues that I see and common behaviour issues that Toni sees, and that her clients talk to her about when they're dropping their birds off and ask for assistance with. So that's kind of where the group intensives idea came from. And so we really wanted to maybe do a bit of just an info session or a Q&A on them, because they're a little bit different. They're not something that Parrot Life's done before. So the whole service is a little bit new. And we wanted to, just cover off on what they are, what they include, answer any questions, and even get some input. So if you're hanging out and you're interested in group intensives, we'd love to hear from you about, what sort of topics would you like to attend a group intensive for. So we'd love you to pop kind of those in the comments as well. Tell us, what would you like us to talk about in a group intensive. So so that's kind of why we're here tonight. So we'll just roll with it and see who wants to ask questions, or otherwise we'll just talk, because Toni and I have zero issues with just talking a lot.
We talk a lot. I guess the thing I'm finding super exciting about what we're about to do is Lee and I have worked together training before. We've done a lot of group sessions here at Brisbane Bird Minding. The thing that's super exciting about what we're about to embark on, it is so one-on-one and so designated or designed for your needs. I just can't. I'm just so excited. Cannot wait to see what people are going to achieve out of this and the information that they're going to get from this. Often people want to go from 0 to 100 in one conversation, whereas Lee has this ability to take you and your bird through a journey of information, and you're just going to love it. You're just going to walk away going, I've got this. So I guess our ultimate goal is to, have a whole bunch of people who are enjoying their parrots a lot more because they've troubleshooted either issues or they have decided they want to train, harness train, flight. There's all sorts of things that they might want to do. So I am so excited about this. I can't wait, actually.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it as well. Like when we kind of brainstormed this and came up with it, I was like, yes, this is an amazing idea. And I guess something that we're taking into consideration is that obviously the cost of living at the moment is really high. People are struggling with everything. Everything's less affordable. Our interest rates are going up. Toni and I totally understand. We're in the same position ourselves, and so trying to go, how do we help people who are struggling with screaming, biting, who want to train their bird to wear a harness, who just want to train their bird to do more things, how can we make it so that, you know, maybe that's a little bit more accessible for people? And so the group intensives were a part of that. I guess to give you a bit of an idea of what is a group intensive. A group intensive is kind of an amalgamation between a group class, sort of like, you know, an amalgamation of a seminar with a private consultation. So it's a really small, exclusive group where we kind of combine, the idea of a group session with a private consultation where it's focused on one particular topic. So for the screaming group intensive, for instance, we would look at all of the environmental factors that might contribute to that particular problem behaviour, but specifically where it relates to the people who are attending that session. So rather than it being like a group class or a seminar, which is very generalized, we get the information that we gather from your behavior history forms, which you complete prior to the session, and then we customize that information to the people that are attending that session. We have discussions backwards and forwards, and we help you problem solve and you overcome some of those environmental roadblocks that might be contributing to that problem behavior. And so we go over all of that thing, and that might be diet and nutrition, it might be foraging and enrichment, it might be cage setups or home setups, it could be interactions you're having with the animal. We go over all of that, and then we will also do demonstrations and discussions on walking you through the behaviour modification and training activities that you need to do at home with your own bird. And that will be a combination of theory as well as demonstrating with birds that are at the session as well. So some sessions will be bird friendly, as in some sessions will be you can opt to bring your own bird if you'd like to. For other sessions that might not be possible. It's just going to depend on the topic that you're kind of coming along to on that particular day.
Yeah, and we do have the advantage here. If you wanted to work with a bird and not bring your own bird, we have 11 to choose from, varying stages from non-trained, semi-aggressive, through to can do somersaults in your hand. So you're going to get a really good range, even if you don't have your bird to bring. The thing I love about having a group of 4 as well, which also excites me, is it's as good as a one-on-one, but you've also got 4 other people and you're going to learn from their pet, their questions, their experiences. So, you're getting the best of both worlds. I can't think of a better session, to be honest, because I've done everything from the group to the one-on-one. If I have a problem child, hey, Lee, can you come over and help me with this? But just having other people in the room, having them troubleshoot their parrot, you're going to learn so much. In what are we doing? We're doing, we've got biting, we've got recall, we've got screaming, and then intro to harness. You're going to cover it in those sessions. So
so we're going to cover off on a lot. Yes, absolutely. We have some pre-prepared birdies for handling, which is fantastic. So you are going to absolutely get some opportunities to see live demonstrations or potentially get the opportunity to do some hands-on practice yourself with a bird. It, again, will depend on the topic that we're talking about on the day. Yes. So Jamie has asked... said, I'm interested in harness training and see you have a beginner course. What does it entail and would it be effective for an older bird? Great question. Yeah, so we've got an intro to harness training. So the intro to harness training is exactly what it sounds like. We're going to go through, and again, it's, I can give you a general outline, but once we get those behaviour history forms back prior to the session, that will then also help me sit down and come up with what that's going to look like for that particular group. So depending on the birds, yes, for an 8-year-old bird, it's never too late to train your bird to do anything, to be honest, but to wear a harness, certainly. But let's say, for instance, your bird we're going to go over how to introduce the harness to your bird. So if your bird is naive and has never had a harness near them before, we'll talk about how to introduce the harness in a positive way so that they develop really good associations with it from the get-go. Or if you've got a bird who is frightened of the harness and now flies away whenever they see it, we'll talk about how to overcome that particular hurdle and get to the point where you can actually have the harness even near your bird to start off with. We'll walk through some of the beginning steps of introducing the harness. We'll talk about some of the non-harness training activities you should be doing with your bird to help prepare them for harness life. And we'll also have birds. So, Toni's great. Her facility is great for this because she does have access to those birds on site, and some of her birds are at different stages in harness training. So we're going to have the opportunity to demonstrate to you how to introduce a harness to a bird who may have never seen it before, and we'll be able to show you what the next steps look like. So how do we start training the bird to voluntarily put their head through the head loop on the harness, because that's a big one. We need our bird to be okay with having that head loop going over their head. And then we'll talk through the handling procedures we need to work on, and we'll talk through how to teach them to let us place their wings through the harness and how those steps are all going to work. So we'll have the opportunity to demo kind of pretty much the whole process of the harness training. But primarily our goal with your birds will be to discuss what you need to do with your particular bird in order to get them to the next step, and what those next steps are going to be and how to start working on those.
Yeah, so with the harness training, this one I find really interesting because I have so many clients that say, oh, do you harness train birds? Well, no. The answer is we train you to train your bird. And what I'm loving about this course, because this is not one generally embarked upon, because harness training you can't do in one session. You just can't. What this is such an amazing intro. And then the follow-on from that is Parrot Life have a brilliant, and I've used it. I've used it on 2 of my birds. It's my constant go-to. It's a video that is all about harness training, and coming to this, you're gonna get it. You're just gonna get it so much more. I have so many clients, Lee, that come and say, my bird was harness trained and now it won't take the harness. Well, the reality to that scenario is your bird's a baby, it's tactile, and it's put up with somebody putting a harness on it. It hasn't necessarily been positively shown how this is a really good thing and to accept it. And this is what I love so much about this course. I think it's going to sell out in a heartbeat, to be honest.
Cool. Okay. Just sharing screens randomly. Yes, absolutely. I have the same thing. People say that to me all of the time. When we get asked about harness training, they say, my bird is harness trained, or they were harness trained, but now they're not, or there's all sorts of issues that I see popping up with young birds and harness training, unfortunately. But like you said, it's actually quite a complex behaviour. There are a lot of components to it. So I did just bring this up to give people, I guess, a little bit of an idea of what's involved in the harness training course that's on our website, because it gives you kind of a general idea of what's like how involved harness training can be. So we've got in here all of your basic foundations, which are important, but then we've got lessons. So there are so this is kind of some of the stuff that we cover off in just lesson 1 of the harness training course. So what is it, choosing it, training methodology, identifying and choosing your reinforcers, setting up your environment, training exercises for novel environments, and desensitization, counter conditioning to the presence of the harness. So that's lesson 1. Then there's lesson 2, and so you've got all of these in lesson 2, and there's a bunch of different lessons and stuff in there. So
it's so good. It is so good.
Really,
I've done them, and it's my go-to, to be honest. And I mean, I've been working with and training and harness training birds for a very long time, and I still get to that point of like, go back a step. Let's start from the beginning here. And so that's what I guess that's my big. I can't wait for the harness training one, because it's asked for so often, and it's an intro, and it's to show you what you're going to encounter, what what's the beginning of harness training mean for you, and go from there. So
exactly. Yeah, I think that's really important for people to understand, is that, yeah, you're not gonna go home and within a day of doing the intro to harness training session have a bird that's harness trained. There is a lot to it, and so we would recommend going and also doing the harness train your parrot course. But this just gives you the opportunity to see, to ask questions that are specific to your bird. So to sit there and say, and like I said, you fill in the form. So I've got some information, and I can then customize my content for that particular session to those who are attending, and talk about what we need to talk about specific to those birds and where they're currently at in their harness training journey. And you get to see what it looks like, because we'll demonstrate those in person, on site, on the day with birds. But then going home and following that up with the full course, where you can just go back and rewatch it time and time and time again, is also going to be something that I would strongly recommend doing. Yeah.
So when Lee and I were sitting down, because we've done courses before and there are so many topics that we could choose, we've narrowed it down to 4 that we think are almost the most common. And as Lee was saying earlier, we're interested in your comments, because we'd like to know, is there other things we haven't thought of? So we've narrowed it down to those 4. So I guess the next time we do this, we're going to take everybody's opinions, and there may be other courses that everybody's really interested in. But for me and for bird minding, biting and screaming. Wow. Everybody, if everybody's honest, 99% of people have encountered either one of those problems along the way. I know I've done both of these topics with you before, Lee, and it's game changing. Like it really is. Like you look at these parrots and you think, how am I ever going to stop it from biting me? How am I ever going to stop it from screaming at me? There are actually things that you can do.
Yes.
But
there's lots of things. There's lots of things. Bugbear, like, the response that your bird biting or screaming is just hormones, your bird's just hormonal, because the problem with that particular sentence is that it essentially tells you that, hormones are this thing that exists. There's nothing you can do about it. Therefore, you just have to put up with this problem behavior. And so many birds end up getting rehomed because people don't believe there's anything that they can do to overcome biting and screaming. It's just hormones. You have to put up with it because animals are animals, and they're going to be hormonal. It's going to happen every year. And that's just not true. There's so much that can be done because it isn't something that's inside the bird. There is all of these environmental factors that are contributing to that behavior problem, and we can absolutely make lots and lots of changes to overcome those, and we can do lots and lots of training and behavior modification that's going to assist with that. And so that's going to be the big focus of these particular, the screaming and the biting group intensives especially, will be focused on what are those contributing environmental factors that each attendee has identified within their own home, and we'll talk and kind of workshop those between ourselves, so that each person has a plan to go home and change any environmental contributing factors, as well as then going home with these behavior modification and training techniques that they can implement with their birds as well.
Yeah, brilliant. And I guess once you've done one of these courses, Lee, you're still offering, you can do in-house, you can follow up, you can go to the next step with all of that, which I also think is brilliant, because you're not just starting from scratch. You've already met the person, they've filled their sheets out, you know them and their parrot intimately, and then you can still, continue
That's
on
right.
that journey. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something I have to point out, is that, often behavior problems aren't a one session fix. Just like if you're going to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist or something, you're not going to just go for one session. Generally we go back and we work, at least a couple of times to overcome things that are, occurring. And so that's much the same for us. It's very rare not unheard of, but it's rare that, it's just a case of one session and that's it, it's done. Behavior problems require usually some ongoing work as well, and ongoing support. And that's what we're here for, as well as not just to tell you what to do, to provide support and troubleshoot, because behavior modification plans don't always go, like this. They're sometimes a bit like this. So, and so having that support. So on that topic, yes, people can do, after they've done their intensive, they could opt to do some follow-up sessions. Follow-up sessions will be offered at a discounted rate for anybody who has done a group intensive. So as part of their swag bag that they get during the group intensive, along with some discounts from your shop and my shop, or our shop. They'll also get a discount that they can use on follow-up sessions in future, and they can do those either in-home, where I come out to them, or they can even opt to do them via Zoom, which I do heaps. I do lots and lots of Zoom consultations. It's super effective, especially once I've already had that opportunity to meet somebody and talk to them and get to know their setup and their bird and things like that. It's really easy to follow up in a kind of a video consultation setup, and it's got some upsides to it as well. So.
Yeah, nice. There's a question there in the comments that someone said, what pre-taught skills does Toni find super helpful in her birdie boarders?
Yeah.
That is a massive question, because I probably have a list of about 20 things that would be most helpful. And you know what? Interestingly, screaming and biting is not on the top of my list, because if they can't they can't be noisy here. Why can they be noisy? And biting, well, we are very good at reading the signs. But I would have to say it's probably not something Lee and I are dealing with in these 4 sessions. But off the top of my head, probably the most helpful thing would be if people ran through a bit of the training that would lead to treating your bird medically, like syringe training, like being able to be held to lift a wing. All of those things would make my life a lot easier. When we do have to administer medication, it can become extremely challenging if that bird isn't syringe trained or familiar, and then they're in a non-familiar place, a non-familiar person. So I'm only highlighting that question because it's a brilliant one, but it's great, Lee, because we need to write that down for future training sessions, because it's probably not really covered in these ones, but definitely something we should do in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and again, just encouraging people, pop in the comments. What, if you were coming along to a group intensive, what is the topic that you would absolutely come along to? We'd love to find out. And I've just popped a little something special in the comments section for people. Just tonight only, we have an exclusive discount, $10 off your group intensive registration, but it's only going to be active for tonight. You'll just need to use the discount code I popped in there. And I will also pop the link to register in the comments, but I'm going to switch that discount off it tonight. So you can only get it tonight. So if you're here, it's only for people that have come along tonight to talk to us.
Only for our faves.
Yeah. So Kimberly said, I'm keen to get more help with recall training. Do we have to do all 4 or pick which one you can come to? Oh, yeah, sorry. So this is a great question. Yes, you just pick one. So each registration is just for one of the intensives, and you can just come to whichever one or all of them. It's really up to you. I think you'd probably be very tired if you came along to all of them on the same day. But it's really up to you. You can come to 1, you can come to 2, you can come to 4. But yes, it is just a case of picking and choosing whichever one you want to come along to. So if you want to come along to Recall, that's the one you'd register for.
Recall's brilliant. We've done it before in our larger group training session. That is another one that I would highly recommend, because if your parrot gets out, you need to know how to recall it. It's just, there's no other way to put it. Even in a home situation, if the parrot was to do something and put itself in danger, you want to be able to recall it. It is a brilliant course. It dumbs it right down. Lee has an amazing way of explaining it and even demonstrating it. And once again, in that course, we have parrots here that we can, you can use on the day, or you can bring your own for that one. So we encourage both. It's just going to depend on your parrot and how it would feel in an environment that it's not used to, basically. If you think it would just go, oh, I'm not doing this today, then you're most welcome to let Lee know and register and use one of ours. Because we're not training the parrot at these sessions. We're actually training you guys. So that's the most important thing to remember. Sometimes you do get more out of the training session if you're not troubleshooting a parrot that's just flown off and won't come down. So, but that's a great one. Recall.
Yeah, recall is good. And again, there's, we'll obviously talk about all of the basics of, how to get a successful recall, what recall training is going to look like from a step-by-step basis. But we'll also troubleshoot and problem solve things that you've got going on at home. So if you've been working on recall with your bird and you're not having success, this is the sort of stuff that we're going to cover off on. So it's a group session with a really personalized focus. So, and like Toni kind of popped in earlier, it's also really cool to listen to what other people are asking and what other people's problems are, because you might not even think to ask that question, but it's so relevant to yourself, or you go away and you realize it is relevant to yourself. So that's kind of a really big upside to doing it in this group setup, is that you do have that option of listening into what other people are asking and kind of gathering information that way as well. It's just, you might just have never thought to ask that particular question. So Kimberly, she said, I'd have to use one of yours as I don't have the funds to get testing done. So just, as a note, psittacosis testing is required if your bird has not had psittacosis testing. So if your bird has had a clear psittacosis test in the last 2 years and they haven't had exposure to other non-familiar birds during that time, then we just need a copy of that. But if your bird hasn't been tested in the last 2 years, or your bird has, but then you've gone and, say, purchased a new bird and brought it into your flock, then you will need to do psittacosis testing, bring them along. Like Toni said, we're actually training you. And we've got plenty of birds who are actually super comfortable in the environment, so at that facility, that are going to be available for you. So Toni's birds, they live there, so they're really comfortable in that environment. They're used to a variety of different people. They're all at different levels, which makes them really, really great working birds. And so, it's fun. You get to, maybe you'll get to play with a harlequin macaw, or you'll get to play with a kayik or a black-capped lorry, or, she's got some really fun, cute little birds there that we can utilize for the different sessions depending on what we're working on. So we're not going to have any shortage.
Oh yeah, and we've got the whole gamut, really. We've got the bomb proof to the I want to rip your head off. So we've got it all here, which is really good, because in a training environment, that's real what people have to work with. It's really interesting. People have parrots and they just expect them to be perfect because they're so intelligent, and because they're so intelligent, they actually really rely on us setting boundaries, setting limits, providing the love and the safe environment for those boundaries, which is another thing I love about Parrot Life, because it's all about cooperative care, really.
Yeah.
There's nothing forced going on here. Your parrot's going to love doing what you want them to do. I wish there was a course out there for children just like this. Just saying. But there's not. So Lee, child trainer anytime, Lee. That would be amazing. No.
I'll just keep working with animals. Thank you. Julie said the group training is so good. She did the online small group harness training courses. So we did some live harness training 6-week classes there for a while, and she found it great to have others and their experiences and questions made the experience so much richer. Awesome. Thanks for that little bit of, I guess, feedback and, information, because it does, I guess it does make it that little bit richer. You've got said, it's a shared experience as well. So you're not there feeling like, you're the sole focus of my attention, which I think people can find a little bit intimidating. I try not to be, but when we're seeking help for something that's going on with our animals, it can be really intimidating sometimes, I think, because we're worried about the person, the professional coming in and judging us for our setup, our bird, our home, our, whatever. And it can be really, stressful. So within a group environment, hopefully that diminishes some of that concern that, and stress that some people might feel about being the center of attention, or the sole focus of the discussion. So
yeah, I the intimidation thing is a real thing. I felt intimidated going into parrot training courses, because it does, if it's not second nature and it's not something you're completely familiar with, it can be quite intimidating. It's not rocket science, but it's also something you practice. It's something that you do learn in these one-on-one sessions. It's fun. We're laughing. We're having a good time. There is nothing intimidating about it. And that's probably, even the group sessions that we do, it's all about, hey, ground zero, we're all learning. We're all here because we want to get the best out of our parrot. So yeah, I think the whole just bringing the numbers down to 4 rather than the larger group is going to allow that a lot more. And we have tea, coffee, chocolates, usually food. I
yes.
Lee, I have a question. Considering mostly not so much the biting and screaming, but all of these courses, will we expect to see a little bit on diet in the information that we're getting?
Good question. Perfect. Most likely. Again, it'll be dependent on the forms that come back from the clients, but probably about 90% of my private consultations, we need to chat about diet and nutrition a little bit. There's usually some tweaks, changes that can be made, both to what we're feeding, how much, and also how we're feeding. So things like foraging and enrichment, as well as, I kind of include foraging as diet and feeding. It's part of, that whole topic. So absolutely, the likelihood is we will discuss those things, because it's very likely that at least a couple of the people in each session are going to have birds that maybe aren't on exactly the right diet. They might be on a slightly inappropriate diet, or maybe they're just getting a bit too much of the high energy foods that we need to go over and talk about. Or maybe we just need to talk about how we're presenting foods to our birds.
Okay, that's fantastic, because I find in any of the training situations or questions that I get from clients, it's almost like you have to start at the very beginning, and that starts with diet. Because really, if you're not motivated to do something, if the diet's not right, then you're kind of struggling. It's an uphill battle from there, really.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, so I did a live Q&A session with Dr. Kat Gregory last week. Yeah. And when Kat and I were just chatting to each other before the session started, she said to me, "Oh, do you talk to your clients about diet and nutrition?" And I was like, "Yes, absolutely." And so, and she asked me that because it's so important to behaviour, and as a behaviour vet or a veterinary behaviourist, Dr. Kat realises how important diet and nutrition is to behaviour. And yeah, it is. It's honestly probably one of the. There are times that I go out and I see a client and we make some big diet changes, and within a week, those clients are messaging me going, "Oh my God, I can't believe the difference in my bird in a week." And the biggest change has been just what or how they're feeding their bird, or what and how they're feeding their bird in many cases. So
yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, absolutely. Because, especially with the screaming, the biting, it could solve a lot before you even get into anything else with regards to that. So
And if, like, you know, no amount of training is going to, it's like what I was talking about again last week with Dr. Kat. No amount of training is going to be effective or successful if there are, you know, environmental or other factors contributing. So, you know, we're not going to make big changes to your bird's behavior if they're on a diet that's so inappropriate that it's driving a lot of this behavior. So it's critical.
It's interesting. I've done a lot of your courses and I've sat in on a lot of courses when we've been hosting them here. I never, ever cease to learn something out of, even though I've heard them so many times, I go away going, how did I not get that the last 10 times? Like, you take something out of each course, which is absolutely brilliant. Which is why I'm so excited. I just want to get everybody to these courses as much as we can, because they're going to enjoy their parrots so much more than they already have. You know, they're very loved birds. And to be able to have a relationship with your bird, and there's nothing better than seeing a client who's going, okay, so I don't have to worry anymore because I've changed this, I've done that, I've fed them the right food, I've moved their cage to the environment they need to be in, and they're no longer screaming at me 24/7. I can now go back to enjoying my parrot. So
yeah, it's exactly right. Yeah, yes. So true. And I mean, I find that as well. I, you know, go to a lot of learning opportunities, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes some people say to me, they're like, oh, you know, I remember a year, 18 months ago, I went along to an info session that the unusual pet vets were holding, and one of the vets said to me, they're like, what are you doing here? Like, you already know this. And I was like, I like hearing it again. Like, I like hearing it again because, you know, I may still pull out one new nugget of information that I walk away with. And that's, you know, that's great. That's gold. I love that. So, yes, yeah, you can do the same thing over and over again and still learn lots and lots of new things. So, but I'm nearly ready to hand the reins over to you, Toni. Surely you can start taking over, right? You've done enough courses now.
No, I'm actually ready to retire. Just bring that out there. No, I'm staying in my lane. I look after everyone's parrots and absolutely love it. I've got amazing clients and all different sorts of parrots. We look after everything from aviary birds that don't get handled, all the way through to the birds that I look at and go, wow, who has taught you how to do that?
The pigeons.
The pigeons. And then there's
we can do a pigeon training intensive.
We could. Let's just focus on the harlequin. He's the biggest pigeon out of all of them. He is a moving target. If anybody wants to hone their skills, their training skills, you are most welcome to come over and hang out with Orlando.
Only if you come to a group intensive, though, guys. Wink.
Oh yeah. But yeah, no, he's been my biggest challenge along the way, and I am so grateful that I have set up for success with a bird like that, because you're not talking about a bird that an angry cockatiel, it's going to hurt when it's not happy with you. An angry harlequin macaw, I'm going to lose digits. It's just going to happen. But knowing what I'm doing now...
Here's the pigeon in question.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, yep. There we go. Hi, Orlando. You probably hear him in the middle and he'll be going, hello. But I've got to honestly say, and I've been working with birds for a very long time, had I not had all of this information along the way, I would have a weapon on my hands, because he has smarts, he has attitude, he is testing 24/7, he's loving, but it's a moving target. It is a legitimate 4-year-old with a beak. So if I didn't have the diet right, if I didn't know how to recall him, if I didn't know how to target train him, if I didn't know what his screaming meant, if I wasn't able to put him on a harness to take him out to burn off some energy, I would have a weapon on my hand. But instead, I have all this information. He's still a moving target, but I get to enjoy him, and I get to work with him on a daily basis. And you guys will meet him when you come and see exactly what I'm talking about. If you want to be challenged, come along.
Yeah. So Tim said with the discount code tonight, he could witness an angry Harlequin macaw bargain.
What was that
one? It's being Yep. No, yeah. He's very sweet, but they're big. He's how old is he now? 2? Not quite 2 yet.
Coming up, so he's not quite 2 yet. He is adorable, and I'm his person, so he's good to me. But he can be challenging. But it's a lesson learned. Like, it's a moving target, and I have to be very disciplined in the way I handle him. Unfortunately, he's in a situation. He's in our main bird room, and everybody just approaches his cage. So my biggest challenge currently is dealing with cage aggression. So I'm a big advocate for being proactive, not reactive. So I don't want to spend days resolving a behavior. What I want to do is just not have the behavior happen in the first place. So what I've done now is I don't let people approach his cage, so he doesn't have the opportunity to get like that. But he is a big sweetheart. It's just another lesson to go. You take on a bird, and it does not matter whether it's a cockatiel or a cockatoo. You take on a bird like that, it's a journey. It's a long journey, and you've got to have the tools to know how everyone can survive and be happy. And that's just the reality. And so I'm a massive advocate for training parrots. They're the smartest animal we possess, really, that we can own as a domesticated pet.
Yeah.
So, with intelligence comes behavior.
Yes. Lots of behavior.
Yeah. Loving.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, he's cute. He's cute. Cool. Well, don't have any other questions, but we've got a lot of people commenting about how adorable your bird is.
He is. I've given him a bad rap, and Tim, he's not actually an angry Harlequin. He's quite a sweetheart. He just he's a sweet workout.
He's a teenager.
He's a teenager.
Summer has said that she's done several of our Parrot Life workshops. She did, and they wish they'd done them before they got their parrots. So, absolutely. We wish that we could encourage people to do more before they get their bird, but one day, hopefully we can get people being a little bit proactive. We do get people who contact us, just before they get their bird. And in some cases, we work with some breeders who include sessions with us as part of their package with their birds. And in those cases,
it's never too late. Do you know what I mean? Like, people will often say to me, "Oh, my bird's like 11. Am I going to be able to do this?" And I feel like saying, your bird's got another 45 years to go. Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
They never, ever, ever stop learning. Like, it's never too late. It doesn't matter how old they are. So I encourage anybody, if you've had a parrot for a long while, it's absolutely never too late.
Yeah, no, it's not a case of if you haven't done it yet and your bird is 5, 10, 15, that it's too late, or that you can't make changes if you've got behavior issues occurring. Be upfront. If your bird has been biting you for 10 years, it's going to take longer to fix that than if it's been biting you for 10 days. But that doesn't mean that you can't overcome that issue. But then on the flip side, absolutely would encourage you to get in earlier as well if possible. The sooner you do it, the easier it is. And yeah, great. If, in a perfect world, I'd have people coming and doing classes and stuff before they got their parrots, but we're not there yet. Maybe one day.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Parrot Life was a game changer for us. Lee's been out a few times and she's helped us have a happy, mostly harmonious house. I have to agree, Julie.
Yeah, it can only be so harmonious when you've got 2 eckies, 2 blue and gold macaws, and some cockatiels. But it was mostly the eckies and the macaws. But yes, they're very sweet kids. Julie has a really lovely little flock of birds. She actually has one of my bird's little sisters. So she has Aztec's little sister, Chance.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah,
so I'm just wondering from the people who are online, so we're covering off the 4 sessions: recall, biting, screaming, and harness training. Is there any other suggestions of courses? Because Lee and I would like to do this once a month, I think is the target.
Yeah.
We were doing them pre-COVID. We were doing the group sessions pretty much once a month, and they were fantastic. But we've all learned a lot, and we've gone full circle, and we want to be able to offer a more intimate, intensive group session. We think everyone's going to get a little bit more out of it. So yeah, and if you guys have got any suggestions of other courses, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Even if you're like don't plan on coming to any of them, we still want to hear, like, what is it, the topic that you would like to hear if you were going to come? What are the topics that you want to hear about? If you don't have to be someone who is planning on coming to the next sessions. We just want to make sure that we're bringing people the most appropriate kind of relevant information. So Tim said multiple bird households. Yeah, that's actually a really good topic. I like that.
Yeah.
Multi-bird households is a really good topic. Lots of people have birds. We could talk about, like multi-bird households, adding a second bird. Yep, that's a good one. Come on, guys, throw them at us. Yeah. All right. Well.
Well, that's me. I've asked all my questions. I kind of knew the answers a little bit, not too many. I'm happy that we're dealing with diet. I think the diet in all of those is a big deal. Yeah, I can't wait to get started. I think they're going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited. So yeah, I mean, I think I've touched on all the things that I wanted to. I've dropped the link to the page on our website with more information. So again, there's quite a bit of info included there that you can go and have a look at as well. Of course, you are more than welcome to reach out to myself or Toni if you have any questions or concerns about the sessions. But otherwise, we're really keen to get these going, and we'd love, again, to hear your ideas on topics that you'd like to hear about. You can put them in the comments here, or you can email them to us, or if you're coming to an intensive and you'd like to have another intensive on a topic that you like, then you can suggest it to us at the time. But yeah, if that's kind of it from me as well. I think I've covered off on everything that I wanted to kind of mention in this session.
Yep. Brilliant. So that's it from me. If anybody needs anything or any further information, you can contact me as well. All the links are on both of our Facebook pages. So you're going to end up at the place you need to end up. If you have any questions at all, I'm always here. Just look up Brisbane Bird Minding, give me a call, send me an email, or you've got Lee as well. And then we'll really look forward to seeing you guys. That'll be good.
Yeah, awesome. And so once again, a little bit of a discount just tonight, and then I'm turning it off And yeah, we hope to see you sometime in the near future. Awesome. Thanks, Toni.
Thank you. I'll chat to you probably tomorrow with my from Parrot.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Lee. Thank you.
Thanks, Toni.